While you sleep, who is really watching over your family? Night falls quietly, lights turn off, doors close, silence pretends to be peace, yet danger does not wait for daylight. What you cannot see still moves. What you cannot control still acts. This is where fear grows, son, daughter, because love alone does not protect, care alone does not cover, and realizing the truth feels heavy. This moment is urgent because protection delayed is protection denied. Many only think about covering when something already breaks. Few understand that spiritual battles are fought when everyone else is asleep. Moses understood this tension deeply. He carried responsibility for lives he could not control. Children, families, futures depended on something greater than his strength. He knew that watching was not enough. Presence was not enough. Strategy was not enough. Psalm 91 was born in this awareness. Not as poetry for calm days, but as a shield for unseen hours. When threats were invisible and responsibility overwhelming, Moses did not trust himself to guard what he loved. He entrusted God. That decision changed everything. This is the turning point. You exist, and this realization is sobering. You cannot protect everyone on your own. If you ignore this truth, fear will quietly become your night watchman. If you face it, something stronger will take its place. Stay here. What comes next explains why responsibility feels heavy and why it was never meant to be carried alone. I exist, and the responsibility of protection is heavy. Loving people creates fear no one talks about. The fear of absence, the fear of distance, the fear of what could happen when you are not there. Parents feel it, guardians feel it, providers feel it. Moses felt it walking through hostile territory with families who trusted his leadership. Love increased responsibility, not peace. Here is the paradox. The more you love, the more vulnerable you feel. Why does love increase fear instead of removing it? Because love reveals what you cannot control. Moses learned that responsibility exposes limits. You can guide, teach, warn, and care, yet you cannot be everywhere. You cannot watch every moment. You cannot stop every threat. That realization either destroys peace or redirects trust. Psalm 91 emerges as refuge for those who carry others, not for the careless, but for the responsible. It speaks to sons and daughters who lie awake thinking about children, spouses, parents, futures. Responsibility becomes unbearable when it is carried alone. Authority begins when responsibility is surrendered correctly. This is where protection shifts from effort to alignment. Awareness creates dependence. Dependence activates covering. If you deny this weight, fear grows silently. If you acknowledge it, refuge opens. And the next stage will confront the most frightening truth of all, the hours when love remains, but watching ends. Therefore, I perceive the void, and it appears in the hours when I cannot watch. Night exposes the limits of love. Distance exposes the limits of presence. Silence exposes the limits of control. Messages go unanswered. Doors remain closed. Sleep comes slowly because the mind keeps guarding what the body no longer can. This void is terrifying because it reveals a truth many avoid. Protection cannot be constant by human effort. Moses knew this void well. There were moments when people were scattered, vulnerable, beyond his reach. He could not stand at every door. He could not follow every path. He could not remain awake forever. Love was present, but control was absent. That gap is where fear tries to rule. The enemy does not need chaos. He waits for absence. He waits for exhaustion. He waits for night. This is why Psalm 91 speaks so clearly to unseen hours. It does not promise that you will always be watching. It promises that someone else will. The void asks a brutal question. Who guards when you cannot? If you leave this question unanswered, fear will answer it for you. Fear will imagine threats. Fear will rehearse disasters. Fear will replace rest with vigilance. This moment is rare because awareness usually arrives after damage. You are seeing it before collapse. That is mercy. The void is not punishment, it is revelation. It reveals that love without alignment produces anxiety. Care without covering produces exhaustion. Psalm 91 does not remove night. It fills it with presence. Do not rush past this realization. What comes next will confront the mistake many make when they confuse affection with authority, and why protection must be established, not assumed. Therefore, I recognize my fall, and it humbles me. The fall was not a scandal. It was subtle. I cared deeply, but I relied on care instead of covering. I loved fiercely, but I confused affection with authority. Moses reached this realization when he understood that proximity does not equal protection. Being close does not mean being covered. Presence does not replace intercession. This recognition exposes a painful truth. Many families suffer not because they are unloved, but because protection was assumed. How many parents love deeply but pray shallowly? How many guardians worry constantly but surrender rarely? Fear grows when responsibility is carried without alignment. That is the hidden fall Psalm 91 confronts. Not rebellion, but misplaced confidence. Moses learned that leadership required more than guidance. It required spiritual authority. When he depended on strategy alone, anxiety multiplied. When he depended on God, peace returned. This is where guilt tries to enter, whispering that you should have done more sooner. Do not accept that voice. This moment is not condemnation, it is correction. Social proof surrounds you. Many sons and daughters love their families intensely, yet feel restless because they never fully entrusted them. The fall is not loving too much. The fall is believing love alone can protect. Once this truth is acknowledged, fear loses ground. Awareness breaks its illusion. Stay here. What comes next is not regret, it is power. Because once the fall is recognized, the cry that follows carries authority. And that cry will change who stands watch over your family from this point forward. Therefore, I cry out for help, and this cry shifts the atmosphere over my family. It is not desperate, it is authoritative. I stop relying on human strength alone and start positioning God as the defender. Psalm 91 is not a suggestion, it is a declaration. The Lord is my refuge, my fortress, my protector. That truth does not wait for circumstances to be perfect. It acts where fear once ruled. Moses understood this principle. Protection does not begin with walls or vigilance. It begins with alignment. Angels respond to authority, not panic. When I cry out, I am not asking God to act as I imagine. I am restoring his reign over the household. That is where peace enters. That is where fear loses authority. That is where the invisible battle is won. The cry is urgent. Delay allows fear to occupy spaces it should never hold. If you wait, anxiety whispers and imagines threats. If you act, presence replaces panic. Now is the moment to speak it aloud or write it. God, I enthrone you over my family, and I declare your protection now. This prophetic phrase is not social, it is spiritual authority. It establishes what human effort cannot. As you do this, notice the shift inside your home. Tension begins to fade. Rest becomes possible. Anxiety loses its voice. This is the power of dwelling under the Most High, and it sets the stage for fulfillment that follows. Therefore, I am fulfilled, not because threats vanished, but because God now stands where I cannot. Fulfillment arrives when authority is restored, not when fear disappears. Peace settles because the throne is rightly placed. Moses understood this truth. God's presence stabilizes environments before circumstances change. When he guards, the house breathes again. Notice the transformation. The home is no longer a bunker built from vigilance and worry. It becomes an altar of trust, where conversations soften, rest returns, and fear no longer dictates behavior. Problems may still appear, but they do not define the atmosphere. Fulfillment does not deny instability. It commands trust inside it. Psalm 91 reveals that safety comes not from absence of threats, but from the presence of God. This is why fulfillment feels immediate. Fear loses its authority when God's reign is honored. Unity replaces tension. Clarity replaces worry. Your family thrives not because walls are stronger, but because the Most High governs the space. That wisdom is available now to your household. If this message reached you, act to protect others. Subscribe and like to help spread God's word to families under unseen pressure. Close this moment by praying the Lord's Prayer, affirming protection, peace, and divine authority over your home. Foundations are secured, fear is displaced, God reigns.